With experiences in architecture, urban planning, and interior design, Victor B. Ortiz Architecture is a multidisciplinary studio based in New York and Sao Paulo, focused on creating unique, livable spaces through informed decision making and leading technology. Victor is here today to chat with us on the topic of architecting sense of place through culture, technology, and nature. So, thanks so much for making the time in the middle of your busy schedule.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Tell us about your studio.
Yeah, so everything started very informally, I think in 2019, where I started with a small scale project. And then 2021, I started posting some designs into Instagram. And for some reason, I think it went viral and people really liked the designs. And then in a matter of, I think, a week or 2 weeks, I got three projects, so three actual clients that really liked the way that the designs that I posted blended like nature and architecture together. So that became the core of all the projects since. So really understanding the environment and the local characteristics, culture, and then creating a design from there. Um, yeah.
Nice. So, what are the essential elements or concepts do we have to pay attention to in order to successfully deliver a sense of place?
So I think it's understanding the client and understanding the environment that you're going to build in. So the client has specific characteristics, so it has a specific way of living.
Mm.
So in order to create a place for them is to understand how their routine is and what do they do, what do they like, uh, and then from there understanding the place. So what are the local materials? What is the site like, and what can we enhance instead of like just destroying wherever we're gonna build in? Is how to enhance the potentials of the local characteristics.
Mhm. So, it is the programming side of it, like in the beginning of the project, usually we do a lot of programming. So, yeah, I do think that it is very important to get to know the clients, know what they want and what they
Yeah,
need, especially. So not everyone knows what they want and need. Maybe they know what
yeah,
they want, but they don't know what they need.
yeah. I think that's our goal. I think as architects and designers is kind of to guide the clients to in order to make them realize their full potential and what their idea is, and kind of just guide them through the whole process. So uh, clients are very different. So they can either like a very minimalistic design or a very uh, unique design from their own like experience, for example. And then but when they contact us, they know our style and they know what we like to do and they know our core values. So our goal is always to kind of guide them towards their own idea, but using our values and our kind of core ideas also.
So with each one being unique, how can we create a livable space?
So yeah, I think the term livable space is very broad. So what can be livable for you can maybe not be livable for me, right? So that's where understanding the clients come is understanding how he lives or how they experience space and how they want to experience space also. I think that's a big difference of, for example, when you go for a vacation and you stay at a nice hotel, that might not be the way you usually live, but that is something that you enjoy, for example. So we try to create uh, oases or spaces that people feel comfortable in, and I think in the end is again joining this what the client needs and what the environment needs or wants to give away, and
Mhm.
then so creating this merger between these two things, I think it's what create a livable space for us.
Mhm. Yeah, and so on top of the environment, how important is it to also incorporate culture into creating a place or architecture, and then how important it is to incorporate technology as well, and what are the relationship with each other?
Yeah, I think these three topics are very interrelated. Culture is well, we can define it as pretty much the a range of experiences of a place or of people, right? Um, and then if we understand the place, if we understand the client, where he comes from, and what he does and everything like that, then we can really create a design that it's tailored to the client. And then the way we do that is by usually blending technology and nature. So they're very also correlated. So we can use nature to inform technology. For example, if we're going to do simulations, or where do people walk on this mall, for example. So we can do simulations such as swarm algorithms, which simulate birds, and kind of using nature to inform our designs and our techniques. We can also use the other way around, technology to inform nature or to simulate nature, right? So we can do solar studies, wind studies. Uh, we can. It's kind of limitless what we can do. So we always try to blend these two. So I think one of the main uh, differentials that people saw in our projects was to use nature. So bring in biomimetics, right? So kind of not copy nature, but use it as inspiration for our final goal, which is an architecture design. And then from that, it can come innovation, right? It can inform your project in ways that you would never imagine to do so. But by studying nature and by studying patterns and by studying the way it works, for example, we can really create something new and unique.
Right. That's awesome. So when we incorporate all those together into architecture and design, what impact have you seen happening in on the way we live, and how do you engage people through the process usually?
Yeah, I think once the clients understand the variable impacts that nature has on the design in art in architecture, I think they were really open to it, and they actually want it more and more. I think at least the people that have contacted me, they do like this style of blending nature and architecture, and not having a clear boundary between what's inside and what's outside. And then just um, for example, let's say you get less anxious when you are outdoors, and your pressure gets better. So it's not just a kind of a mental state of benefits, it's also like physical benefits. So cleaner air. And then so these arguments and these facts actually help convince clients and help show them the potentiality that you could have when you blend these two together.
Mhm. And so, on that same note, how can architecture bring us back to our roots?
So I think if well when I think about roots, right, I think about the beginnings of architecture, and which is just to have a shelter, right? So it's just to protect ourselves from the environment. But now we have evolved so much that we can choose things to do with this shelter, and to make it better and to improve our lives. Uh, so it's in the end, it's kind of how can you plan to have a better construction, a better waste management, for example, um, and then design in a conscious way that it's you can predict uh, the uses and the necessities in the future, right? So it's I think it's not anymore just about building something, building a house that it's serves as shelter. I think it's more about building a place that can be adaptable through seasons and can predict future uses for the that space.
Do you mind sharing with us one or two of your projects that successfully enhance that human and nature relationship?
So I'll share. This is a project that kind of started it all. I posted just for fun on, on my Instagram, and I think it just went viral, and I think it depicts really well this uh, this joint relationship between architecture and nature. So not having a clear boundary of, is a roof just a roof? Can we walk on the roof? How do you access the roof? It's a garden that goes from the ground floor up. So you never have to, go upstairs, or it's kind of a mixed use in terms of a patio, outdoor patio, and an indoor space and living area, but it's also like a garden. So it's really a kind of a mixed use of um, ideas and concepts of living, right? And then the main goal was to pretty much create a project that brought this. Well, I'm from Brazil, so I wanted to bring the kind of the local culture and characteristics to the design. So by making, let's say, the columns are almost like a furniture detail design, so they can bring the Brazilian traditional Brazilian furniture, traditional Brazilian materials to a house that is very contemporary and that blends very well into nature. And then this is another project that does this in a little bit more of a scene way, um, but also has the same characteristics of you, blurring the lines between the indoor and outdoors, creating gardens on the inside, using local materials, using natural materials, um, and then kind of creating a space that almost blends into the landscape. So the goal, all the projects, is to minimize the impact with the construction on the site. So instead of just cutting all the trees and cutting all the land and removing earth from the site, we actually design with the site and place the spaces wherever they need to be to have to be less harmful to the existing condition. Um, yeah, so you can see that the living spaces are very open to each other. So it's sheltered from rain and wind, but it's also still outdoors, so you can enjoy life, pretty much. And then this is one project that we're currently developing. I'm not sure people have seen it yet, so that's a insight for you guys. Um, Also, like, for example, we have to understand clients, right? So the clients on this project really like concrete, and then we have to understand that concrete is not very good for the environment, right? So how can we make it in a way that um, we can impact last environment and still create a unique architecture, right? And again, bringing nature in the architecture and bringing, kind of blurring these lines between what's inside and what's out there.
That's amazing. They all look so beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So, what is your take on generating sustainable living? Or maybe we can pick your brain on what has been the challenges in realizing it.
Yeah, I think the challenge is already generating sustainable urban living, right? So that's the main challenge that I think most architects nowadays realized and are trying to follow, which is, again, going back to what I said, is anticipating whatever is the use or the needs to that space, right? So if you kind of have to predict the future and understand if it's adaptable and how you're going to use reusable energies, for example, and not use just the regular energy source that we usually use. So adding that to the design. So even solar panels, or if you have a river next to the site, you can use it to generate energy. Also, you have to understand transportation. So if it's a house or if it's a mall, it's the same thing. So you have to understand, will people be using electrical cars or bicycles, or, what are we going to have in the future? Also access to it, right? So in some places, the access is very limited. So you have to predict how the space is going to change, how the environment is going to change, and then kind of use this uh, prediction on infrastructure and on use and on people and on design to create a more sustainable living, right? Something that lasts longer, uh, uses less resources, has less waste, uh, maybe also using local materials and local workforce and labor, right? So kind of enhancing the qualities of wherever you're going to build instead of just designing something that could be just placed anywhere, and really using uh, what we have, which is the site for architecture, right? And predicting what it's going to be like and what it's going to be used.
Mhm. Yeah, adaptability, I think, is a big
Yeah,
deal
yeah,
now, since we had to change so much the way we live recently, and also the way we act, the way we think. So yeah, perfect. Thank you so much for some of the great insights and some of the inspiration to younger generations to start thinking ahead, like micro and macro scale, and also holistically about
yeah.
the planet, people, and also the environment. Yeah, thank you so much for chatting.
That's it. Thank you for the invitation. It's been really nice.
Thank you.